To another live hangout, and it's Monday morning, so it's time to sort of shake off the tiredness of the weekend. I hope you've had a great weekend. For some of you all over the world, it is still the weekend, so I hope you had a great one. And for those of you who caught one of my earlier videos during the weekend, I streamed live from Warwick, which I actually said in the video that it was streaming live 2 hours west of Sydney. I don't know where that came from. It's 2 hours west of Brisbane. I was at my son's tennis tournament. We had a great weekend, and wanted to kick off the week with another live hangout. Today we are going to answer your questions. Make sure you jump on and ask as many questions as you feel you need to or want to, and hopefully we can all join in the conversation. G'day, Isa. Nice to see you. Make sure you let us know where you're from. This is the first time I'm streaming in this format, sitting at my desk using a software package that I've invested into, because I want to invest into you, so I'm investing into the whole live thing and hoping it proves to be helpful. So without further ado, just to give you a heads up, today's topic, we're going to be discussing some stuff that I've read in Matthew Edwards' book, So You Want to Sing Rock and Roll. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a fanboy of Matthew. I think the work he's doing is exceptional, and we're going to talk about just one aspect that I read over the weekend that he's written in his book that is just so resonated with me, and I think you're going to find it helpful because there is some confusing information that we find here online. Hopefully the discussion we're going to have today is going to clarify that all up. So let's get into it.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Okay, so let's go for it. Can you talk about vocal fatigue, Ayman? For those of you who want to know, I am actually currently, let me just jump out of here and check something. I am streaming live, so I'm just having a look at how we're going. And I can't see any actual streaming features. I'm hoping everything, I guess I'm hi from London. I'm a singing pom. I nearly read that incorrectly, and I'm not going to tell you what I thought had been written there. You nearly got a block. I'm glad I took a closer look. I've got my my comments down here. Oh dear. Let me just fix this up. You're a singing pom. That's good to know. Let me just. I've got some technical issues going on. Okay, so we are going to answer your questions as we go along today, and hopefully that will be good. We'll answer the questions a little bit later, so please make sure you fire off your questions, and we won't get to all of them, I'm sure, but because I do try to keep these streams to 20 minutes or so. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I'm a singing voice specialist, and I've got a singing channel here on YouTube called Voice Essentials, and there's nearly over 200 videos over on the channel, so make sure you take the opportunity to check them out. I do these streams very spontaneously, so I do them scattered throughout the week. We always have one regular video that goes live every week. It goes live at 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on a Thursday, which is probably about Wednesday for most people who watch the channel. And we deep dive into a whole range of subjects. Yeah, so that's always weekly at the same time, and you can subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell icon and subscribe to notifications so you're aware of it. Hitting that bell icon on my channel, and there is instructions a little bit lower for you to be able to find out how to do this in the description section below. But hitting that bell icon also will give you notifications for when I go live. And as I said, I do these sporadically through the week. They're never at the same time. So the only way to make sure you don't miss one of our live hangouts together and to get to ask your question is to make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon. So that will be great. So what we're going to do today is the very brief topic I want to discuss, as I said before, is taken from this book, Matthew Edwards. It's called So You Want to Sing Rock and Roll, A Guide for Professionals. Matthew is just an excellent singing teacher in the US. I've never had the personal pleasure of meeting him, but I certainly hope to later at the International Voice Congress in Stockholm in Sweden, where I'm presenting a couple of I'm presenting one paper and also sitting on a panel. So I'm hoping that he'll be there and I'll get to meet him, because I want to discuss this book, which is exceptional. Look, this is not sponsored. It's just my own personal opinion. If you're into reading books, this is a must read. And I wanted to discuss a particular topic today, and that is the idea of task-specific singing. And I have been saying for longer than I care to mention that the idea of learning to sing contemporary music built on classical technique is short-sighted at best, and at worst, really poor pedagogy. And, you know, it's always exciting to me to find other pedagogues worldwide who are starting to say the same things. And that's what I read in this book. And in fact, I want to read you a quote. In fact, I can go to the quote if I can make sure I get all that. Let me read you a quote from Matthew's book that talks about this very subject, and have a listen to this. In 2008, the American Academy of Teachers of Singing published a statement declaring that contemporary commercial music, that is CCM singers, require a separate and unique approach to singing their chosen repertoire. You cannot get more clearly stated than that. The AATS is a highly respected group in the US of vocal pedagogues and voice scientists, and to have them come out and say so clearly that there is a distinct difference between the two, and that you do need specific training for contemporary singing, is such an exciting thing to have read, because, as I said, I've been saying this for years, and here on YouTube I've had people firing sniper shots at me for suggesting such a thing, saying that the only way to really learn singing is to learn classical technique and then to build your contemporary singing on that. And I've disputed that for years, and so exciting to read that. And I've got another quote that I didn't go to the trouble, admittedly. Oh, can I point something out to you? Something that, have a look at this. Can you see how I raced around putting this slide together this morning? And can you see I want to identify, I did misspell separate. For those of you who are spelling Nazis, I saw that I was preparing and went, oh no, but I don't have time to retype it, so I hope that's okay. Let me just glance down here at some of our people. Hey there from Chicago. G'day Keenan, nice to have you come along. Yellowstone National Park. How cool is that? Martha, we might come back to your question about bad coughing a little bit later. How to get a chest voice. Well, actually, do you know what? Oh, Luke, you're down at Gold Coast. Yes, mate, thanks for tuning in again. Keenan, just having a look at your question here, talk about how to get a chest voice. Actually, that is a great segue into the next quote that I want to read. And it's taken from the same book, from page 108. Now, I've been saying a not dissimilar thing to this, what we're about to read, for a couple of decades in my studio. But I will say I've never said it with such clarity and I don't know, it just reads really well. Have a listen to what Matthew writes when it comes to identifying, well, what are the differences between classical and contemporary music, and in the sense of, for contemporary singers, classical singers, what are the main differences? And under a subheading called Register Use in Rock, have a listen to what I'm not going to read the whole book to you, but have a listen to what he says about this, because this is awesome. Says it with such clarity. In many ways, men and women exchange registration strategies when moving from classical singing to rock. In classical singing, men learn to carry their chest voice into their upper range, while women learn to lighten their voices towards a head dominant mix as they ascend. In rock, men move toward chest dominant or head dominant mix as they ascend, while women carry their chest voice or a strong chest mix to the upper extremes of their range. In many ways, the men learn to sing like women and the women learn to sing like men. If you, and he goes on. And that last sentence, I think, really sums it up so well. If you are classically, in many ways, the men learn to sing like women and the women learn to sing like men. When I read that, I went, oh, that's such a great way of describing it. There's such a big difference. It's a mechanical difference. Often when people are talking about, contemporary music, contemporary singing versus classical singing, and people, different people here even on YouTube, but singing teachers in general, often when singing teachers describe their teaching, and they describe themselves as either a classical teacher or a contemporary teacher, often actually what's fueling that point that they're making is more often than not the repertoire that they are choosing to use within their studio. And the repertoire plays a part. But one thing I would say to you though is actually what determines whether a person is a classical singing teacher or a contemporary teacher is not the repertoire. That's the second point. The first point that actually needs to be addressed is the way that the voice is being mechanically set up. And that's what I would encourage you to, if you're looking for a singing teacher, go looking for how is this person going to train the muscular response of my voice, the mechanical balance. And as Matt writes in his book just there, it's kind of almost opposite to what you would do classically when we set it up in a contemporary mode. And another thing you can look for is, for example, classical singers are often being trained to bring their upper register, especially women, upper register and that lighter mechanism down into their lower register. So a classical singing teacher will often train the voice with scales, etc., starting high and bringing that low. We do the exact opposite as contemporary pedagogues. We take the voice from lower register, developing and strengthening that lower, what we refer to as shortened dominant mix, mode 1, what are the other ones? Thick fold, and taking it thyroarytenoid dominant and taking that up into the upper register. So, Keenan, I hope that's helpful to you. Let's start answering some questions about about some singing, and look, if you are interested in finding yourself something to work with that is contemporary in nature as far as the development of your voice and seeing your voice develop in a contemporary manner, then you can always download my exercise CD, Dr. Dan's Voice Essentials. I have purposefully made this CD very accessible financially. It's not expensive. You can find it via one of the links in the description section below. And I'm often referring to this CD in my videos, and so if you do want to be able to take full advantage of the videos that I put up here on YouTube, then having that can be really handy because it means you can implement the activities that I'm often doing with you here on YouTube. So let's have a look at some. I'm going to go right back to the beginning for some questions. And look, if you want, as we answer some questions, if you want to discuss anything in regards to this contemporary versus classical, actually, that's not really a great way of putting it up, is it? It's not about it being classical versus contemporary. It's not about one being better than the other. It's about using the right task, the right mechanism for the right task. And so it's not one's better than the other. And unfortunately, there are some that have tried to set up that dichotomy, that clash. It's not about that. If you're a classical singer, then I would tell you straight away, I am not the best person for you to be learning from. You need to find yourself a classically focused teacher that is going to set up your voice for classical singing. I dare say most of us here on my channel are contemporary singers. That is, they're either singing rock, pop, country, some music, theatre, jazz, some of the metal genres, screamo and death. And so many of these genres, in fact, all of these genres, contemporary genres, need a contemporary setup. So fire off with your questions in the note sections below, and that will be a good thing. So let's go back up above, right back to the top here. Can you talk about vocal fatigue? I certainly can talk about vocal fatigue. Ayman, vocal fatigue it's important. In fact, I've got a number of videos on the channel that talk about this, and one of the more recent ones we've talked about vocal pacing, when to rest the voice, so you can jump over to the channel and have a look for those. It is important to always remember that your body is made up of muscle. Your body cannot go, not only made up of muscle, but your body can only go for so long, yeah? And your voice is no different. Your voice will have a stamina level. Now, everyone's stamina level, dependent on how long you've been doing the singing thing and how developed your technique is, everyone has a level of stamina. And what we have to learn is, where is that point at which you have exhausted your stamina? Another good way to think about vocal fatigue is actually to think about having a vocal budget. And everyone's budget is different. My budget may be different to your budget. But we all have to learn to live within the means of that vocal budget. And so my vocal budget might be I can sing well over 3 sets in a night. But what happens if I have to sing a 4th set in a night? Well, then I'm probably, maybe, going to start having to spend into credit. And I'm going to start to, and if I spend into credit too often, I'm more likely than not going to start finding myself in the red. And the longer you spend life in credit, the more problems you start to have with debt. And if you spend a lot of time in debt vocally, then wear and tear can onset, and we can start to have some challenges with vocal damage at a pathological level. Things, there's a whole range of issues that can onset there. And so improving your fatigue rates comes down to regular, consistent work and strengthening the muscles so that they are more apt, not only at doing the gig in the moment, singing in the moment, but also they're more apt in repairing and recovering, so that, for example, if I had to do a 4-set gig one night and then I have to follow straight up with a 4-set gig the next night, I want to make sure that my vocal repair rates, my fatigue, my repair rates, that is my recovery rates, that's what I was looking for, see my voice in good health over that period of time. So I hope that's helpful, Ayman. Arthur 5, I come in peace. I'm glad you do, Arthur. Just streaming through here. I've just got all of the comments way down here on my tablet. Past few months, when I sing my low notes, this is from Maradith. Past few months, when I sing my low notes, it feels tight and have a hard singing when I used to. And I have a hard time singing when I used to. I'm not exactly sure what you've written there. What could be happening? Past few months when I'm singing low notes, it feels tight. If your low notes are feeling tight, it may well be, and of course, this is where, and I'm going to be really upfront with you, there is a limit to what you and I can do here on YouTube. via comments and via our videos, because there are so many things that we can't diagnose, that we can't correct when I don't have the opportunity to hear you and see you. So it's important that when I'm answering your questions, that you take on board the information in a general sense, and then try to apply the general response, the general answer to your situation. Ultimately, there comes a point, and I've never been backward in saying this, ultimately there comes a point where all of us in our development vocally do need to spend one-on-one time with a singing teacher, a qualified singing teacher. Because it's only a singing teacher that can, sitting in front of you, whether it's via Skype, I teach singing lessons here on Skype, as do others, or a person in your local community. It's only as you sing in front of them that they can actually hear and see and identify, diagnose and correct, that you'll get the full push forward in your development voice, with your voice. So let me just go back here. Low notes, often with low notes, what we're going to have is we can find ourselves trying to lower the larynx. And in fact, I'm just going to check something here. Just to let you know, I think this week, I'm just double checking what video I've got going live this Thursday for you all to keep an eye out for. Oh, where is it? Oh no, I've got a great video coming out this Thursday about how to find your authentic singing voice, which I think many of you will find helpful. But next week, I've got a whole video dedicated to laryngeal position. What's the best position for your voice to be in when you sing? What some of us will find ourselves doing is lowering the larynx, and it will cause the larynx to sit really low, so it's being pulled down often by the sternohyoid muscle. It's pulling it down, and it's compressing and causing a lot of stress and strain. And when we do that, it can really labor and create a lot of tension in the voice. The other thing too is often when we're singing low, we don't alleviate the amount of pressure that's pushing up underneath, what's called subglottal pressure. We don't alleviate the pressure that we're experiencing, and so we get this really heavy sound. And so two things I'd go looking for, where were we? Meredith, and that is I'd go looking to, first of all, make sure your voice is in a little bit more of a neutral state, and I go into this in a little bit more depth in the new video coming out in a few weeks, in a couple of weeks. But I also would encourage you to think about your breath flow. You want to make sure your breath is not being pushed. It's all about breath management is so key to good singing. Being able to manage your air in an even, consistent manner is really important. I've just had a look at the time. We have been going for 23 minutes already. Where does the time go? I'm not exactly sure. Hey guys, thanks for all these questions and comments. I'm only going to have time to answer a couple more questions. Once again, let me remind you to go across to the channel, subscribe, and hit the bell icon next to your subscribe button on the channel so that you get notifications for these live Q&As. And make sure you hit the thumbs up of this video if you're enjoying the interactivity and the information that I'm able to provide you. It is my hope that as I do these more often, that I get better at doing them for you and being clear in my communication, and that it helps to facilitate your development as a singer. I really do believe, and this is not just words, I do believe that it's the birthright of every human being to sing. Here at Voice Essentials, everyone sings. I don't actually classify the idea of singers and non-singers. That's a Western construct that has not served us well. Yeah, and sadly it's reinforced by TV talent shows and all that sort of stuff. You know, that's no way for us to think of ourselves. We all have the capacity to sing. True, some people choose to use their singing voice more than others, and that's okay. But I believe you are born to sing, and I'd really want to see you develop in a manner that you feel confident, appropriately so, with your voice. So a couple more questions that we're going to answer here. Keenan, is classical, is gospel classical or contemporary? Gospel is definitely what would probably refer to as a contemporary mode. Gospel dates right back in amongst African American people, and it's where gospel has it's where we derive things like rock and R&B and, to a certain mode, pop. There's some of the pop hybrids that we get from gospel. So now gospel is definitely, because it really came from a spoken value, and so perhaps one day I'll do a video about that in a little bit more depth for you, Keenan. So excited to be here. Anne Marie, I'm so excited that you're here as well. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's keep going. Gavin, can you carry chest up to G4? My G4s are becoming strong with patience. Yes, you can, Gavin. What you might like to try is using twang as a way of bridging and bringing some blend into what some people would refer to as mix, into your chest dominant sounds as you travel up towards your G4, and you may even find that it becomes easier. One of the things about transitioning is what a lot of singers, particularly males, want to do is they want to push through their transition. They want to increase their air pressure and just go for it. That's not going to work out well for you. What you've got to do is learn to back off your air pressure and subtly adjust it so that the voice can hit that speed bump and go over it smoothly. So twang can be a great way to blend yourself through into those upper registers whilst maintaining a sense of a short and a dominant mode. I hope that's helpful. Dan's right. I'm with a great vocal coach named Matt Ward. Very good, Luke. Matt's a great singing teacher, and they can fix so many things in one session. Well, I'm glad to know Matt's doing some great work with you, Luke. That's awesome. Okay, this is going to be the last one, everyone, and then we're going to call it a day. Dan, have you ever thought of breaking down certain songs and pitfalls in certain songs in video form? It would be interesting to get your take and view on some popular songs and the singers. Do you know, thanks to the MOBA for that question. I have done a few sing-type videos, and I'll be honest with you and say they actually didn't do great, in the sense that they didn't have a lot of viewing. And I do videos where I know that there's a chance that there's not going to be a lot of views, but I know that they'll be very helpful to a very specific group of people. The singing videos, however, are actually really time-consuming to put together, and there's only me doing this. You know, I produce everything. Everything you see on my channel literally has been done by myself, and so it just comes down to time. The MOBA, it just really comes down to time. Do you know who does some really great videos in this regard? Jump over to my friend's channel, Freya. What's Freya's last name? We've done some great videos together. Let me show you Freya's channel. Freya singing. Here we go. Freya Casey. I went to say Freya Casey. Why did I stop? Let me show you Freya's channel. So this is Freya's channel, and we've been doing some collaborations over the years. Last year we did a collaboration. We're looking to do some more this year. Freya has a great channel, and I really encourage you, jump over, subscribe if you haven't already, and just go through there. And so you can see down here, see how she's got this section here, how to sing that song, and there's some really great breakdown tips there of all of that, which I would really encourage you to go and check out. Like I say, it's a great channel. She's a great pedagogue, and I really want to, that's a shout out. Freya, you can thank me later. That's a shout out to her channel because she, you know, so I hope that the MOBA, I hope that's helpful to you and you can get some good stuff out of that. So I think that pretty much brings us to the end of our time together today. This has been a 30-minute stream. Please hit the thumbs up if you found today really helpful. Once again, the book we talked about a little bit earlier was So You Want to Sing Rock and Roll, a Guide for Professionals by Matthew Edwards. It's a part of a series by the National Association of Teachers of Singing, NATS, which is the biggest association of teachers of singing in the US. Great, very highly respected group. And so you can really trust it as a product and the information that's coming from it. There we go. Please make sure you tune in on Thursday to the video about Find Your Voice. Hopefully there'll be some great tips there for you all. We may get to do this again this week. I'm only ever going to do them once, sometimes twice. And so make sure you hit that bell icon on my channel, and that'll help you to pick where and when and how you're going to interact with the videos. Okay, that's it. Have a great week, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next live Q&A when we'll talk about all things voice and hopefully see you really develop your voice and improve your sound. I'm Dr. Dan.